Hi everybody, I'm Govy or Go Home. I want to welcome you back to my channel. Today we're doing a special review and unboxing of the brand new HO scale Rapido Trains Inc. General Motors Diesel Division F59ph locomotive. I've got 3 different schemes in the Go Transit paint, and we're going to unbox them, and I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to show you my new method of doing reviews, and I'm going to give you a scoring as well, and what I think the overall locomotive is scored at. So we'll do the breakdown right now.
This video is brought to you by Otter Valley Railroad. Since 2003, Otter Valley has strived to offer the very best in model railway trains and accessories for your layout while saving you money. Check them out in-store and online at ovrtrains.com.
All right, so now we're going to break down the review system, and I'm going to show you how we're actually going to score these locomotives and future locomotives going forward. Feel free to use this system as well when you're doing a video review and see how it works for you. Let me know in the comment section.
We will be basing the scoring out of 5 categories. There will be 20 points awarded for each category, with 100 points total. Each category broken down is as follows. Scale, covering coupler height and making sure wheels are engaged. Function, including movement, slow and fast, smooth running, and even a pull test. Paint and detail, including color, any defects, and the packaging it comes in. Proto-likeness, how close is it to the real thing? Era specifics, and road name specifics. And lastly, sound and features. All the regular sounds and the bonus sounds that it comes with, lights, and all the lighting features. Now that we know how the scoring works, let's get started.
Okay, so let's unbox this locomotive. We have 3 different versions here to show you today. All 3 of them are Go Transit road name. One of them is the delivered or early scheme. We have one as the late scheme, and we also have a special logo, Go Transit, that was an experimental, logo back in 1999. When we look at the box, it is a lot plainer than most of their other boxes, especially for their locomotives. I've seen some really neat ones that they have, especially the ones that they have for the F40s. So this one's a little bit more plain. I do like it though. It's obviously just almost like a CAD drawing of the locomotive itself, which in turn is really neat. Rapido always does an excellent job of packaging their products, and they're usually very well packaged and safe inside. Here's some of the things that you'll get with it. The F59ph operator manual. And if you ever take the time to read through this, there's lots of information. And because of the type of people Rapido are, there's lots of little jokes, and they're very comical with how they write things. They also give you lots of information for missing or damaged parts if you need to contact them. And it also tells you all the decoder CVs and what all the functions are. Lately, they've been adding stickers to their products. This is a new one for me. This is the Rapido bus. but I do have a lot of the 100% grade A nerd and also just the regular Rapido train stickers. It would have been nice to have a Go Transit sticker, possibly, but beggars can't be choosers. You also get the standard exploded parts diagram, just in case anything breaks or you'll lose something or you might be missing something. This has a lot of parts, and I do mean a lot. This is probably more than what I've ever seen on one HO scale locomotive before. That or they break it down even more. But yeah, that looks like a lot. It's almost 200 parts. And there it is. Very nice. So now you do get some extra parts in here. Now they did say that for the earlier F59s, you do get the air conditioner units for the top, that they're totally optional. I really like it with the vents on, so I might add these to this one. I'm also going to be looking to see if anything is damaged, if anything falls off, or if anything is missing. So far, so good. Everything's clean. The foam is in there, and it was nice and snug. You usually get a clamshell with the clear plastic holding it tight, foam inserts as well, and for some reason they've started taping these closed. I don't know if was something that someone had suggested because it would just come loose, but that's definitely new. Okay, so just to kind of give you a bit of history on the F59, before the F59, Go Transit was using GP40s and F7s to pull their fleet. However, they needed something that would accelerate a little bit quicker, was more fuel efficient, and could pull a number of the bi-level cars. So that's where they approached GM, and they got this locomotive, or they acquired the F59. It does have a bit of a smaller fuel tank because it is more fuel efficient, but it would also have a extra unit as a HEP to power and heat the passenger cars, which is really neat. The locomotive itself is equipped with a turbocharged 12-cylinder 2-stroke diesel prime mover, a full-width North American comfort cab with HEP provides a smaller 600 horsepower GM 8-cylinder diesel. In 1994, the final 4 units were delivered to Go, but were very quickly sold to Dallas Trinity Railway Express by the cash-strapped Ontario government. Other surplus locomotives were leased to West Coast Express in British Columbia and Metrolink in California. By 2007, Go Transit began retiring most of the fleet of F59s and replacing them with MPI MP40ph 3C locomotives, which I know we're kind of hoping that Rapido will do next. And many of them were sold to other railroads, including AMT, Metra, NCDOT, and RB Railway Group. Go Transit still has several of these units, but most of the time they run the MP40s. Now, noticing this in person versus what I'm seeing on my camera, the green that you'll see is a tad bit darker, a bit stronger, if you will, than the actual green of the locomotive that sits in front of me. But it's still very close to Go green, right? There's not too many other colors on this besides the black and the white. And of course, you've got the Ontario flag on the nose there. Again, very nice, very legible. The Ontario Trillium right below the window there. or the government of Ontario, I should say. And a lot of these details that are on here are very nice as well, like the separately applied grab irons and the Go logo on the front. We've got lift rings all throughout, an antenna on top, sunshades. And if you take a look at the bell's even painted as well, which is also very nice. Now, Rapido is known for the underbody details, so we're going to take a look at that as well. We've got all the different pipings and whatnot. There's the small fuel tank. All the separately applied grab irons, and even the specific ones that are yellow, which is a very nice touch. Okay, so this one here being the delivered scheme, like I said, I've got a couple more here. So this one is the more modern one, I guess you could say, because it does come with the AC units already attached, and this is the later phase. So this is kind of like the upgraded version. Now, when I take a look at some of the differences here, some of the things that I do notice right off the bat, besides the air conditioning units, they went ahead and they painted all the vents on the top green, opposed to leaving them black. And of course, they also covered that exhaust as well with green paint, where here they left it silver. They also relocated the horn, which on here is on the side, to the front. On the rear of these two units, you won't see too much of a difference besides what I've already pointed out, but everything else seems the same, and you've got your sand filler hatches as well. And yeah, there's a nice backup light, which is right beside that there. We'll get a closer look at that after. But let's take a look now at the special paint scheme that they had, or I guess I should say the special logo. Okay, so back in 1999, just like most companies that have been around for a while, they like to try new things. So here is a test paint scheme that Go Transit did. Still same Go likeness, but the logo itself, it kind of echoes. It's slanted, and then it also has transit with that long T at the end there. Now this is still considered technically an early unit, and that's why you don't have your AC units on the top there. And they are included in, oh, they are not included. So you don't get the little AC units with this, which is weird, because typically they add the extra parts so you can, upgrade it, but guess not. Now with this here, if I'm seeing this correctly, obviously these are painted green, much like phase 2. It has a green cover here opposed to the silver, which is, I guess, a step between the early and the late. So you get the best of all three worlds here. Okay, so here's a bit of information for you. So the special scheme paint for this Go Transit here, the special logo, number 527, eventually it did get the AC units on top once it was repainted back to just the regular logo. So if you do decide to keep it as that logo, then yeah, you don't need the AC units on the top. I wonder if they're going to do an additional number in the future where it's just the regular 527, but in the later paint. But regardless, they have a lot of different numbers to choose from here, so I wouldn't be surprised even if you've missed out on one of these locomotives this time, or you didn't get as many as what you would have wanted. I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing more in the future. Okay, so we're going to check the couplers on the front and the back. And you will see that that is almost spot on the front.
And when we look at the back, it seems a tad bit lower, but it still gives you room to play either way, which is really good because I've seen it where it's really bad. So couplers definitely are really good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to check to make sure that the wheels are engaged. I've got my wheel gauge here from Otter Valley, which does meet NMRA standards. And everything seems to line up really well. Perfect. Okay, so we have power to the track, and we've got 557 set up right here. And you'll notice right away the light boards, they do come on. There is a function to turn them off and on, so that is independent to the lock sound board there and how it's wired. And F19 would turn those off. Also, F0, you turn on the headlight, nice and bright. And then we've got our bell, which is F1. Good clean bell. F2, which is the horn. Now, when you hold it down, it obviously goes a lot longer, but you just push it and it does a short bell. Very nice. F3 is your flange squeal. Typically that only works when you're moving. F4 is your drive hold. Again, it basically holds whatever speed you're currently at, and then you can turn up your throttle and it'll sound like it's revving harder, as if you're pulling a heavy load up a hill. Number 5 is your Doppler horn, so we're going to hear that. So it sounds... So they basically have this on repeat. I'm not a big fan of that. I like it when it just runs the one time and that's it. So I wonder if there's a way to change that. Most likely through the CVs, but yeah, not a fan of that. F6 is your ditch lights. And of course, if you've got an American unit, when your ditch lights are on and you're going through that crossing, you know they're going to flash when you're sounding that horn or you're doing your Doppler. F7 will dim the headlights. And they do, I know it's very hard to tell here, but they do dim quite a bit. I'm not sure if you can actually, maybe I could do this here so that the LEDs are not so bright over it. You can kind of see them dim and then they're bright again. Cool, cool. F8 is your startup, your mute and shutdown. F9 is your class lights. So that's these ones here, which is only on the Canadian units. We're special like that. So you've got, let's see if this works. So I'm not sure if it's just really dim or one side of my... Okay, that one is really, it's not bright at all. Green is okay. And red barely. Well, I guess you have to kind of look right at it in order for it to... Okay, so it seems as though the right side of this locomotive, when you're looking right at the front, the bulb is much closer, where on this side it's further in. So it doesn't appear to be as bright on this side as it is on this side. All three lights do work, and it basically goes white, green, red. So what you do is you press
F9, and the first light comes on both sides. Then you press it again, and they both go out. Then you press it again to go to green, press it to turn it off, press it again, and you go to red. Yeah, the lighting, that kind of, I mean, it's not great that it's not that bright and that it's in there. I mean, I'm sure I could take the shell off and maybe try to move it forward a little bit. But again, when you're paying like $320 for a locomotive, you really want it to be mint right out of the box. So now your F10 is your independent brake. F11, if you've got an American unit, you get a strobe light, where the strobe light normally is right above the cab window there. The emergency light, if your loco is American, you'll have a F13 for a rear backup light, which we're going to take a look at now. So in your extended features buttons list, if you hit 13, you got your rear light there, which is really neat. Then F14 is your head-end power, or HEP, which is another version of the startup here, or the sound. It has a very generator sound to it. F16 is your spitter valve. I'm not sure if you're going to hear too much there. Then you also have a number of light features as well, such as your step lights, your track inspection lights, and like I said before, your number board lights. So that's F17 to 19, which we're going to take a look at now. So most of these lights in the lighting features, they do come on automatically, like I said. We'll start with the F19, which is your number boards. There it goes, it's off. I do like it better when it's lit up though. Then we've also got F18, which is your track inspection lights, which are right here, and that's on both sides. And then F17, which is your step lights, which you're gonna see for both the front right here and back here on both sides. Very nice. I like that. That's something new that Rapido's doing, and let's make that a standard. And of course, F20, which is your air compressor. Let's see if I can do this. Nope. There we go. Oh, this might be okay, this might be 21. So if you grew up in the 80s, which technically I was born in the mid 80s, you probably heard that song in a commercial, which is just, you know, yours to discover, just like our license plates, Ontario. Cool, I guess. You know, it's a bonus sound. Let's see if I can get that air compressor going though. No, I'm not sure how to get the compressor going. I'm gonna try 22.
another commercial that you probably might have heard early 90s would be for the Toronto International Exhibition at Exhibition Place, which is again in Toronto, which did have Go service to there from many smaller cities around the GTA. So again, a little nostalgia, pretty cool, but where's our passenger sounds? Let's try 23.
706 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
So I'm pretty sure that's the Blues Brothers. Something like that. I'm not too sure. Let's try 24. All these bonus sounds and not one station announcement. You know how many stations that Go Transit actually stops at? Come on, give us a Brampton transit stop, a Mississauga transit stop, something. Okay, so one last sound for you here, and this is going to be the startup for the locomotive. All right, so now we're going to do a pull test. Now, I don't have any Go Transit cars on hand, so what we're going to do, we're going to judge it based off of freight cars. Everybody pulls freight cars unless you specifically do passenger, and I find that most pull tests are done with freight cars anyways. So we're gonna use these Rapido HO scale barrel ore cars. And I've got a lot of them. And I'm going to keep adding them on until I'm seeing any sort of resistance. Keeping in mind, my layout does have some larger curves. Most are 29 inches or more. And I do have grades of 2% in some areas, or it's flat. So we're going to be testing a number of things here. How well it goes up and down grades, if it can pull more and more cars until I'm seeing some sort of resistance, and if for some reason I can get all my ore cars and it's still going, I'm gonna start adding other cars. So we're gonna start here, and we're gonna start going. Right now it's pulling 17 ore cars, and I'm gonna go to a speed step of 35 because that's some standard stuff. And it doesn't seem to have any problem whatsoever because it's on flat. But we're gonna go around to the other side where it's gonna go upgrade, and we're gonna take a look. All right, so at this point here, as it's coming around the curve, it is going up on a 2% grade. It's going to level out across a bridge, and then it's gonna go down 2%. And it's still carrying 17 cars, no problem. Okay, so right now it is pulling 20 barrel ore cars. There's some short and some long, but the way I look at it is that for 2 long and 1 short barrel ore car, that should be the equivalent to 1 HO scale bi-level Bombardier car. That means it is currently pulling, if my math is correct, 7 bi-level cars. I've had issues in the past with other manufacturers and their GP40s and F7s trying to pull the Athearn bi-level cars, and I had issues pulling up 4 cars up at 2%. 3, no problem. If it's flat, if you're on a completely flat layout, you could probably do about 4, maybe 5 if you're lucky. If anything, this is going to be where the real issues start to happen. I've got a 35-inch radius going on the outside of my helix, and we're going up 2%. Right now, like I said, it is pulling 20 cars. So let's see how that works.
Well, that was fun. Next up, I'm quickly going to break down my score and my thoughts on the F59 and how it stacks up. So let's take a look.
As far as the score goes, for scale, I give it 20 out of 20. The coupler height was perfect, and the wheels were engaged. For function, I give it 18 out of 20. The slow speed wasn't the best, but the pull test nailed it. For paint and detail, I give it 20 out of 20. The color is sharp, there was no defects. Even though I'm not a fan of the packaging, it still holds up. For proto-likeness, I gave it 20 out of 20. Each locomotive, by number, has specific details based off of the era and for the road name. And lastly, for sound and features, I gave it 14 out of 20. It sounds really nice with the lock sound, but as for the bonus sounds, I really need some passenger or station announcements. And with lighting, I wasn't completely satisfied with my classification lights on this locomotive. They seem to be sunk in to the locomotive, so they didn't appear very bright. Now we tally up the scores, and I'm going to show you how we break this down. After adding up your points, you're going to want to see where it lands. 90 to 100 points, it's definitely a must-have locomotive. 75 to 90, I'd highly consider buying it. 50 to 75 might not be for everyone. 25 to 50, it might need some work. And lastly, 0 to 25, I probably wouldn't bother. So that means for the Rapido Trains F59ph locomotive in Go Transit paint, I gave it 92 out of 100%. This is an awesome locomotive.
Thank you so much for joining me today for this review and unboxing of the brand new HO scale Rapido Trains F59ph locomotive. Feel free to use my scoring system on some of your locomotives. I'd love to see what you think of some of the stuff that you have. I'm Go Veer, Go Home. We'll see you next time, but I have a train to catch.